In this video, I'm going to be taking you through my entire investment portfolio, which I have been building up since I started investing around about September 2014. Now, if you've been on this channel before, you will already know that I've made similar videos like this in the past. So look at this one as almost like a 2023 update. But nonetheless, the areas of investments that I'm going to be covering in this video is going to be my stocks and index funds portfolio, my property portfolio, my crypto investments, and then some alternative assets along the way. But before I get into that, just a couple of quick disclaimers. Number one, of course, I am no investing genius. Do I look like one? Absolutely not. Everything that I have learned about investing in all of these different areas have all been on either YouTube, talking to somebody else that has a similar mindset, or just reading books. So anything that I will be saying in this video, do not take as solid advice. Always seek a financial advisor or some kind of professional before you make any big decisions with your own money. Number two, and this one pretty much goes without saying, but this video has not been made to brag or flex or anything of that kind. One of the goals of this YouTube channel is to open up the conversation of money and make it a little bit less of a taboo. And if this video can either help somebody or inspire somebody to start investing, then that's kind of my goal achieved. But having said that, let's get into my portfolio. Okay, so let's start things off with my most active investment right now, and that's going to be my stocks and index funds. Now, this is something that I am investing into every single month, and depending on how much money I have left over at the end of the month, I'm investing anything between £500 to £1,000 every single month into the stock market, simply because right now we're going through a little bit of a downtrend, and because I am a long-term investor and I have a goal of taking this money out maybe in around 10 to 15 or maybe even 20 years time, right now I'm trying to get as much money in as possible for the cheapest price as possible so I can take full advantage in the future. At the time of recording this video, my investment portfolio currently stands at a value of £47,688, and it's split roughly around 60% of that money in index funds and 40% spread across different individual stocks. Now, in terms of the funds that I actually own, the main one and the largest investment in my portfolio is going to be one that is called VUSA. Now, this is a Vanguard fund that tracks the S&P 500. Now, the way that I explain the S&P 500 to my friends is that it's essentially an index of the largest 500 companies in America. So think of companies like Apple, Microsoft, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, all of the big banks. All of these companies you are probably going to see within the S&P 500. Essentially, every time that I buy a share of VUSA, what I'm essentially doing is buying a small chunk of each and every single one of these 500 companies, so I've got a nice bit of diversity across America. The next one that I own is called VMID, which is once again another product of Vanguard, and it's a little bit like the S&P 500 tracker that I just mentioned, but instead it tracks some of the largest companies on the London Stock Exchange. So this way I've got my VUSA, which covers America, I've got my VMID, which covers London/Europe, and to me that kind of gives me coverage across two continents where I think the economy is going to grow the most over the next 15 to 20 years. Now, when it comes to my individual stocks, I actually have quite a few, but a couple of the ones that you may notice are ones such as Apple, Disney, Coca-Cola, and Meta, formerly known as obviously Facebook. And of course, I'm really confident for these companies in the long-term future. But one thing you'll notice as well is I have some smaller companies such as Tattoo Chef, DraftKings, Coinbase, and Corsair Gaming, which are products that I really like. However, the stock price on those ones have taken quite a significant hit over the past 12 months. Next on the list is my crypto investments. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. The last time I checked my Coinbase app was around about 6 months ago, and that is pretty much down to the reason that I don't really have that much care about crypto, other than the fact that when I discovered it in 2017, which may seem like quite a while ago to some people that have only just recently found out about it, my goal with crypto was to pretty much just put some money into it and just see what happens. I have no desire to continue keep adding to my portfolio. I have no desire to take the money out either. I just wanted to put a little bit of money in, and if it got to millions of pounds, then maybe I'd consider it. But I just wanted to be involved in it, learn a little bit more about it and things like that. But just taking a look at my Coinbase portfolio right now, one thing that you can see is that my portfolio sits at around £1,785. But as you can see from this chart, if we take a look at about 12 months ago from now, it was almost at around 5 grand. But as you've probably heard about in the news, or if you just follow crypto in general, this is very common. One day you could see it very high, and obviously the next day it could be just completely gone. Moving on from that, we then move on to my property portfolio, and this is probably where I would say the biggest changes have taken place, especially in the last 3 months, and things may get a little bit confusing here, so just bear with me. But essentially, just before the Christmas just gone, I was officially the owner of 2 different properties. Number 1 was my 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom flat in the city centre of Norwich. My equity in this flat was sat at anything around £200,000 to £210,000, and I was also receiving around £1,000 every single month in rental income. Now, the second property I owned was one that I lived in, and my equity in that property was sat at around £95,000. However, because I lived in this property, I never really classed this as a true investment. This is actually an opinion that is very divided across the investment community, and it's one that I have actually changed in the past 12 months. I don't really see a property that I'm living in and actively using as an official investment, even though I've kind of got money into it. It's each to their own. But just staying with that property for just a second, I actually officially sold that house on the 16th of December 2022, and I made around £95,000 actually on that property, but because I was a 50% owner of that house, I only took around £48,000 home out of the total of £95,000, which is still pretty good considering I only put a £13,000 deposit on it 2 years just before. However, with that said, that does now leave me with just the one property, which is the property that I'm about to move into for a temporary time being whilst I look for another house. Obviously, I've got the deposit ready to go. I just need to get a mortgage and look for the right deal and obviously a right house to live in. But essentially, if I'm going by my rule that I don't count a property that I'm living in as my investment, right now my official property investment portfolio currently sits at 0. But just for the sake of this video, if we do count the equity in the property that I'm about to live in, plus the cash that I have dedicated, especially for a deposit on a new one, then that leaves my property portfolio sitting at a value of roughly £258,000. Now, finally, I did want to touch on a couple of the alternative star investments that I have invested into over the past 8 or 9 years, with the first one being this Rolex watch, which I purchased for £5,400 back in September of 2014. And when I look online to try and find a used one of the exact same spec with all of the different features, I actually can't find one for cheaper than £10,000 right now. Not saying that's what I'd get if I actually sold it to one of these companies, but to me that's a really good investment, and the fact that I've been able to wear it almost every single day as well, whilst it has gone up in price, is an absolute bonus. The other type of this kind of investment that I have is some investments into gold and silver. Now, the first one being a gold chain that was given to me when I was actually born. Now, I think the value of this around that time, 31 years ago, was around £200 for it, which was still quite a lot at that time. But over time, obviously gold has gone up, and I think it's valued at around £1,200, £1,300. Obviously the price of gold and silver is going up and down on a daily basis, but the last time I checked, it was around just over £1,000. I would love to show you, but it's actually sat in a vault in the middle of Norwich right now, and I will throw a picture of me wearing it around 5 or 6 years ago, and probably judging from this picture, you can see why I probably don't wear it anymore. The only other investment to mention in this kind of category is an investment that I made around about a year or 2 years ago into vintage football cards. I'll throw a couple of them on screen right now, but this wasn't my proudest investment. I think I invested around £1,200 at the time into these, which I thought they were going to be super rare. I think I remember quoting myself saying that one of these cards was going to be worth like £100,000 one day, which you never know, they may still go ahead and do that. But if we were going ahead and ask my brother, who is actually really into this kind of thing and he's a bit of an expert in it, he'd probably tell me right now they're probably worth around about £100 to £200. So not my best investment there. But essentially that is all of the investments that I have to date right now. Now, if you wanted to add everything up as like kind of a grand total, don't worry, I've already done it for you. Currently right now, my investment portfolio sits at around £61,400 if you don't include my property bits, and it sits at around £320,000 if you do. But nonetheless, of course, like I mentioned at the start, don't go ahead and compare yourself. This has taken me around 8 or 9 years to build all of this up. I've made a lot of sacrifices along the way as well. But yeah, I hope this video has helped. If it does, of course, leave us a like down below. If you had any questions about this, then do drop me a comment as well. But I will see you guys in the next video. Take care, and yeah, I'll see you soon.